Hello, everybody. How's it going? Ben Gothard here with another Project Egg interview, and today we are talking with Brianna Greene. How you doing today, Brianna?
I'm fabulous. How is everyone? And how are you, Ben?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. So, today we want to dive into your life, okay? And so, that being said, let's jump right in. First question I have for you is, what is your story?
So my story's crazy. I was formerly a teacher and assistant principal, and I was hired at 21 years old. I got a bachelor's in biology, and I was teaching middle school science, and I loved teaching. I loved working with kids because as a child, I was a competitive figure skater for 14 years, so I really did enjoy. I actually coached as a child as well, and I loved working with kids. I decided that my day had become a little bit monotonous, and so I decided to explore some other things. I went back for a second master's degree in school administration, and then I ended up being the assistant principal, and quickly found out that that was not for me. And although there were some other directions I could have gone with that degree, the strange thing is I was the only one in my entire family who had gone in a completely different route than them, which is I grew up with entrepreneurs and families that own business. So I decided to, throughout all of this period, I've always sold on eBay. So when I was, let's see here, I'm 37 years old now. So let's see, 96, 95 when eBay came out, right around 96, I was 15 years old. And so I started selling there because I've always worked on the side, and I decided I wasn't making enough money and I wanted to liquidate my bedroom. I had heard about this eBay thing. And so to add on top of the teaching and the assistant principal thing, I've just always had this side hustle of eBay. And so when I did figure out that my job was kind of boring me and that I wanted to kind of go a different route, my eBay business really started to pick up, and I noticed that I was making more part-time on eBay than I was full-time as an assistant principal. So I was driving to work 45 minutes one way, plus obviously working overtime, and it's salaried, you're not paid per hour. So I decided to take a year's leave of absence, and I was very blessed to have been tenured, so they saved my job for a year. And really just a month into that switch, I just knew I wasn't ever going to go back. From there, things just snowballed like crazy. Fast forward to now, and I'm all over the place with selling. I'm actually an Amazon FBA seller is where my primary income comes from. I have a private label line that I just launched on there. I'm into wholesale and online arbitrage. And then from there, I have a lot of income streams that trickle down. I do eBay. I sell on Etsy. I love vintage items. Poshmark. I own several information brokering companies, which, you know, we can get into if you want to at some point. But basically, I develop companies based on needs that I see in the industries that I'm working in. So because I became so big into Amazon, there was a need for people to be able to find products to sell. And so one of my companies that I founded co-founded is a product sourcing company. So there's a lot of little ones that kind of like trickle down from there, but that's the gist of it. So now I'm a business developer. Everything's online. I kind of go by hustling from home or the laptop lifestyle. I have a husband and daughter, and we have the ability, because I run all of these businesses now, right, literally from our house, from our laptop, we can travel. So we enjoy four-wheeling and hitting up ATV parks and snowmobiling, and we have an RV, and we travel in that, and we're able to make this lifestyle work all online for us.
That is incredible. That is incredible. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into your past.
Sure.
You said two really cool things that I wanted to touch on. You said you were a competitive figure skater for 14 years.
Yes.
Can you talk about how that came about and what you took from that experience and how that's really contributed to your success now?
Absolutely. I'm not really sure how I got into figure skating other than I was the typical little girl that wanted to take dance lessons. And I think my parents got me into, figure skating. And I quickly learned to love it. And that was about age 4. And by 5 or 6 years old, I was already going to competitions. I spent most of my middle school and high school years, early high school, traveling and competing and doing shows. And so I did have to sacrifice a lot of some of the normal childhood activities that, a lot of people get to experience. But the trade-off was now as an adult, I have learned like incredible multitasking skills and diligence and discipline. And I'm like an organizational freak of nature. Like you can give me a list that everyone is like, yeah, you're not going to get that done. And I'm like, watch. Because back when I skated, I mean, even as a young kid, I'd come home and I would have to go train for 3 hours. And it was figure skating, it was weightlifting, and it was also ballet that we had to do all of that. And then go home and do homework. And go to bed and do it again. So it really has taught me a lot that I think it's worked well in the industry that I'm in, that I developed the strengths that I did from that experience.
So the strengths that you were talking about, that discipline, organization, for somebody who maybe hasn't had an experience like yours, how do they develop that, right? How do they not get held down by weaknesses like that? How do they really build those strengths? Well,
I think one of the things is, I think sometimes it is a bit innate. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she's not a figure skater or a dancer, and she has absolutely no interest in it whatsoever. But she actually does show those same sorts of traits in her everyday life. So I think, some of it was probably genetic. But as far as getting around that in your everyday life, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of course, we always want to better ourselves and we always want to be working on ourselves. But there comes a point where there's just not enough time in the day. And it's okay to say you're not strong in a certain area and ask for help and outsource and find someone else who is strong in that. So if organization maybe isn't your thing, or completing tasks, you have a hard time focusing on it, maybe you need to talk to somebody who that is their strength. And maybe you don't need to know so much about why they enjoy being organized. Maybe you just need actual physical tasks that you can emulate that they do that help them to keep organized. Ask them, what do they do? What do you do to hold yourself accountable? Do you use a calendar? Do you use a dry erase board? Like, what can I do to help myself with that? Or outsource. If it's something that can be outsourced, find someone that can do it for you.
I actually think that outsourcing is a fantastic way to go, because
I love it.
Then you literally don't have to deal with that specific thing. Yeah. So when you're identifying those things that either you are weak in or you are strong in, how do you actually go about labeling that? And I guess it comes down to self-awareness, but how do you actually identify those things that, hey, this is something I'm good at, this is something I should double down on, or this is something I'm weak in, maybe I need some help in it?
I know for me, it's starting to just come down to, two things. If it's not worth my time, like what is my time worth? Like, is it worth $100 an hour? Is it worth $50 an hour? Is it worth $500 an hour? And am I doing a task that somebody at 20% of my worth would be happy to do for a nice paycheck? So could I be spending my time elsewhere on some higher level skills that I need to implement in order to keep my company going? And if you hate it, outsource it. Do not drive yourself into the ground, which I'm guilty of. I'm a control freak. And so it's something that I constantly have to work at. I'll drive myself into the ground with the most mundane task that is boring and I'm not passionate about it at all. And then I finally say, why am I doing this? And I actually own an outsourcing company that can be doing a lot of the tasks for me. And I'll finally say, okay, like, let it go. If you're not passionate about it, don't ruin your entire day, like forcing yourself to do it. Find someone who loves it and have them do it for you.
That's great. That's great. So, we talked a little bit about the figure skating and working with our strengths and outsourcing. I want to move into the other really interesting thing you said about your childhood, which was that you started selling on eBay at 15 years old.
Yes.
So So how did you get into that, and what steps did you take to kind of ramp that up and keep it as a side hustle throughout the years?
So, I mean, I've always had that entrepreneurial hustle nature. I mean, I was definitely probably the annoying friend that came over and was like, let's put on a show and charge money for an entry fee for tickets. Let's clean your room and put it in a wagon and bring it around door to door and sell it. Like, I was always doing that. And I don't know what it was, you know, just about, I don't know. I just basically, it's just been something that's always been in my heart. Wait, you got to redirect me a little bit here, though. I'm starting to lose my focus. What? Repeat the question real quick.
Yeah. So how did you get into the eBay selling?
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was about, I think I got my working papers at 14. And so immediately I started working for an attorney's office. And how much am I going to do at 14 years old in an attorney's office? And so I just wanted more money. And I'm self-taught with a lot of stuff. Like, yeah, I went to school and I have degrees and all that, but I also just like to teach myself things. And so I don't even know how I came upon eBay. I think maybe my parents must have opened an account or something, and I went on there and began to explore it a bit. And of course, like, the very first thing I decided to sell, it can't be, you know, some small item. It was like a snowboard. I decided I was done snowboarding. It was too short for me. And so and then I looked around my room and I said, oh, okay, you know, I have porcelain dolls around here. I'm too old for these. And they were collectible. So I made, you know, sold that. So I just kind of, I didn't really go hardcore with it though for a good 10, 15 years, just kind of returned back and forth here and there. And then what happened was, when I was teaching, I actually went through a divorce, and I was saddled with literally tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And it was horrible. So I moved back in with my parents. I was a teacher at the time. And then teaching bills, I was just impatient to, like, let's just get this done. Let's just pay these bills. Like, I don't want to be paying on these forever. And so I kind of returned to my roots with the whole eBay thing. And I knew that I was an avid TJ Maxx shopper for years, and I was really into designer purses. So my very first step to this big empire that I've now built was basically going over to TJ Maxx and grabbing a couple of Dooney and Burke purses. And at that time, I was like, okay, they're $100. Maybe I can get them to sell for like $130 and make like $20. And so I started small like that, and then I'm like, okay, I made $20, $50, $100. Oh my gosh. So I just kind of grew from there. I was looking for other products. The business just kept snowballing. I paid that debt off in no time, having that as a little, you know, extra income. And then that led me years later to leaving teaching. And the story that I told before.
That's great. So moving along the timeline, to now when you're going into college. Can you take us through those later high school years, early college years, just so we have some sort of, you know, more of background of who you are as a person? Absolutely.
So it's funny because my strengths were always math and science. Even though business was like always something that I really enjoyed, my heart was just, I'm a science geek and a math geek. I love numbers, and I just love that whole thing. So, you know, like every high school kid, I went from like, I'm really into fashion too, which, you know, that's something cool I can do now as an Amazon seller, is like launch my own clothing line that's private label, right? But, you know, I went through I want to be a fashion designer. Then at one point, I actually went and looked at the University of Buffalo, and I wanted to be a pharmacist because I had such great grades in math and science. And I graduated, let's see here, my big claim, 370 kids, and I think I was 13th in my class. So I'm like, I got to use my math and science, you know, background, and I got to go somewhere with this. So I had a full scholarship to just our local community college. I didn't know what the heck I wanted. I was all over the place, and went right into the math and science program there. And then sort of like towards the end of my associate's degree, I started to do a lot of work with kids again. And I just kind of was like, wow, you know what? I think that's where my heart is. I can combine the two, the math and the science and the teaching elements. And so I just, you know, finished my associates, and then ended up going to SUNY Fredonia and finishing up my work there. And geez, let's see here. graduated at 21 with my bachelor's, and then actually was hired by my home school district, which was interesting because they wanted me to take a high school math position at 21. Unfortunately, my friends were 18 and seniors, so I don't think that would have worked out so well. So I accepted the middle school position, and at 21, and I was taught that for 8 years, seven, and then the assistant principal position came in.
So when you were a teacher, what sort of skills did you develop in that time? Because, you know, you're having to instruct, and you're having to manage a class and work with people. So what skills did you develop, and what did you learn, again, that has now contributed to your success today?
Well, the first thing I learned was definitely, I mean, as a young kid, you know, going into a school system like that, you have to learn how to work with just totally different people. I mean, from all walks of life. So that was something that I came out of teaching. Like, you know, I'm very glad that I learned that. And so also, you know, and when you're working with people, you get to know their strengths as well. And now that I'm like outside of the school system, there are still those connections that I have where I'm like, oh my gosh, my coworker had a connection with this, or a strength in this, you know, and now I can contact them, you know, and still have that connection with them. Repeat the rest of it again. I'm sorry.
And so
I lose track. I get all like.
Yeah. So how did the skills that you've learned there really translate into success for you today?
Oh, as a teacher. The other thing I forgot to mention, this is kind of what I think has really helped me ramp up my business. I don't even know how I developed a technology background, because in '98, when I graduated from high school, I wrote my senior paper on a typewriter. And that was literally like when we were like, the internet, what are you supposed to do with that thing, you know? So it was like, I don't know, like strange for me that I just automatically just had this pull to technology. So one of the huge strengths that I was able to kind of carry over was I actually developed online courses for the district. So I think I started with students. We had some advanced placement science students, and we're like, that was kind of like on the cusp of online learning. And I'm thinking, oh, awesome. You know, I'm going to be like right at the beginning of this. And I wanted to really dive in, and I did that for the district. And I had to teach myself HTML code, because that was back in the HTML days. So boy, I learned a lot there. I mean, it was just sink or swim. And then that led also to developing even more online courses that I was actually doing the teachers' professional development. So during the summers, I would work with the teachers and try to get them on board with the technology. Apple was like had given us some sort of a grant back then. So we all had our own laptops and wireless remotes and whatever, all the technology. And a lot of the teachers that had been there for 30 years, they were a little scared. And so I was able to make them more comfortable with that. So it just was weird that those sorts of experiences and strengths, beyond just working with people and having students and the strengths I developed from that, there was a whole repertoire of other things that I learned that just coincidentally helped me out.
So then once you did go on that 1 year leave of absence, and you said, I believe you said in that first month, like you knew that this was like the real lifestyle that you wanted. What steps did you actually take to ramp up your business and to just jump in fully? Like, how did you take it from the side hustle to now I'm making tons of money, I'm crushing it, I'm living the laptop lifestyle?
I mean, you definitely have to treat it like a business. I mean, like I'm very active on Facebook and I answer questions all the time and try to coach and mentor people, but it's like it can quickly go from a hobby to a full-fledged business. So it's almost like, even if it is a hobby, you need to just kind of treat it as a business. You need to get yourself set up with processes, I would say. So how's your day going to look? Like, that's the first thing too that a lot of people run into is like, they get up in the morning, they make the coffee, and they're like, now what? Like, you're on your own, you're at the house, like nobody's telling you what to do. So definitely, yeah, you got to figure out how to structure your day. You need to set yourself up as a real legit business. Get your EIN number, your resale certificate, cover all your bases and structure that day. And then one of the most important things, I think, is to make your, and it's so cliche, make your goal list. How are you going to get to your goals? You know, well, you got to know where you're going. But then the important thing is break it down and break it down and break it down into doable tasks. And that's where I think a lot of home entrepreneurs get lost. You know where you're going. Like, I want this. I want to pay off this bill. I want to buy this thing. But then they're like, great, like, now what? Like, how do I get there? So take the annual goals and then scale those down. Okay, so like on a monthly basis, what do I want completed by November? And so forth. And then scale that down. You know, what do I need to do on a daily basis? Don't say I need to do, I don't know. I'll use an example of myself. I can't just write, I'm going to spend some time on social media today. Yeah, that's not going to go so well. I need to say exactly, I need to advertise for this company. So I have actionable steps. And I think that's the most important thing.
So when you are setting those goals, and I'm talking more about the big picture, high level, 30,000 foot goals.
Sure.
How do you set goals that are large enough to where you're inspired and motivated to go out and crush it, but reasonable enough, and I'm hesitant to say that word, but you know, with difficult enough, but not impossible to where, you know, you're just going to get overwhelmed and just say, I can't do it.
And I honestly, I get there a lot myself. Like, I call it like meltdown mode. Like, I was in it last night. I just took on too many things, and it's kind of like I just have to put it down and walk away and go to sleep and do something else or read and just take, and then I'm fine. And then I can get back to it. But it is very easy to get overwhelmed. And I think it's, you have to have those big goals that you're just like super excited about, but they can seem like they're really far off if you're not like setting benchmarks for yourself. In order to get there, you need to set yourself a little goal in these little steps and celebrate. Like, yeah, I killed this first step. Like, I'm on my way to that big goal. And I think that's how you keep yourself motivated and going. You have to take these little chunks and celebrate these little victories. And the craziest thing is on that journey, like me, I thought I was on this eBay journey, you know, like this, one step in front of the other. Next thing you know, I'm like all over the place. So be open-minded on that journey too. And you'll encounter some other opportunities for sure.
So I want to talk about the whole going into other opportunities thing.
Sure.
But first, I really want to dig a little bit deeper into this goal setting idea, because this is something that I struggle with, and I feel like a lot of people do too. How do you know exactly what is too big of a goal to set, right? Because you know, I feel like there are two trains of thought. Like, one is set ridiculously high goals, and then when you think you've set that goal, add like 5 more zeros to the end of it, or, you know, something like that. Just keep taking it to the next level, keep pushing yourself, be ridiculous, be unreasonable. And then the other train of thought is like, hey, know what you're capable of and push yourself, like almost systematically push yourself and just keep progressing. You know, it seems like one, you're trying to live up to your full potential and even more that you don't realize is your full potential. And the other is more practical and reasonable. What do you do? What's the better alternative?
I almost think that those two simultaneously can exist because they're almost more personality related to me. I mean, my husband just told me, honey, I love you, but you're a maniac. You can't slow down. Like, you have no off switch. I'm crazy. I'm like at 4 in the morning. I'm just going. And for him, and it's funny that you're asking this because we're those two schools of thought. I'm the, we're going to freaking own an island thinking, you know, and he's like, let's just get our bills paid for tomorrow. And like, so I think it's just kind of personality driven. And so what we have to do with our goal setting is he has to look, we have our, you know, our joint goals, but he looks at them differently and approaches them differently than I do. I can look at that island way out there, and even though like I'm struggling, I know I'm going to get there. I'm going to get up and I'm just going to keep doing it. And he needs to have more readily attainable, realistic, like, so I kind of act as a translator in our relationship for that. So I can help him set more realistic goals, like keep them realistic and still have my crazy stuff going on too.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, so let's talk about when you were saying the other opportunities, right?
Sure.
So when you were in the eBay, starting off with the eBay full-time hustle, and you were moving forward, how did it happen for you where these other opportunities started to pop up? And how did you know that it was the right time for you to, you know, divert some of your attention to these other avenues?
Well, I know, first of all, even to back up to the teaching thing, because I know a lot of people ask me, like, how did you know when to leave? I was exhausted. I didn't want to go back. And my side hustle was now making more than my main job. That's when I knew. And I still had that safety net of being able to go back to that job because they were holding it. But like so many people, you know, they jump a little too soon, you know? So as far as the opportunities and how things kind of came about, you know, with eBay. So when you're on this straight path, sometimes, you know, these opportunities arise where you get bored, I guess. I guess that's what I did. I just got bored. It was just kind of like automated. Like it was like, oh, what am I going to do? I have 2,500 items listed on here and I'm like seriously bored. So then I was like, well, maybe I can get them to sell faster. So let's just kind of playing with some stuff. And then that's, oh, I've heard of this Amazon thing and like people are selling all these books on Amazon. Let's see what that's about. So then it was going over to Amazon and playing a little bit like, holy crap, I've had that book forever and it just sold. And then it was learning that you can sell more than just books on Amazon and more than just new products. You can sell used home goods, actually. A lot of people don't know that. And so it was kind of just doing a little exploring and clicking buttons and trying things and not really caring, you know, because so many people are so tentative about that. Like, it's fine. You're not going to mess anything up. So exploring and investigating and experimenting. And then I guess that just grew from there too. So I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get these Amazon sales. Holy cow, like I just sold this thrift store item. Like, and then I hear everyone talking about this FBA thing. What's the deal with this FBA, you know? And I start learning about that. And my big thing is I like to go on these immersion benders, I will call them, where I get really, really, really passionate about something like Amazon FBA. And I'm like, I just need to know everything about it so that I know if I want to do it, if I want to put everything into it. And so I just digest everything I can. I watch every podcast or listen to every podcast, watch every webinar. I do what I can to just take all the information and then make that decision. And then and I did that with Amazon FBA. And then I went in and I screwed up a whole bunch of stuff. And I said, I'm never doing this again. It sucks. And then went back to learning and tried it again. And then I was hooked. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, I guess, constantly being inquisitive and wanting to learn more has kind of led me down that path. And then to go further, you know, as the Amazon business started popping, other opportunities start to trickle in as well. And how do I know how to take those opportunities? I don't even know sometimes. And sometimes, like right now, I'm really into affiliate marketing. I don't have any clue how I got into this. And to be quite honest, I don't even really know how to do it. Companies approached me to represent products for them and pay me a commission. And I look at the product. Awesome. I use it. I'm going to advocate for it. So it's just kind of figuring it out as you go and taking those opportunities and not being scared to take a little risk, you know?
So as you're building these different companies and you're growing and you're learning all these different things, how do you still maintain that same quality and that same level of growth in those first ventures that, you know, you had before while you were personally growing them when your attention's over here?
Okay, so what I would definitely do is like eBay. I did not make the move anywhere until that thing was making money, and like good money. Like our bills are paid. Then I was thinking, okay, let's grow, let's get bigger. And that's when I finally took that step to Amazon FBA. Like you need to make sure that you get a good handle on one before you start developing another. Now, I'm not saying you can't like be learning on the side. Like literally business is my hobby, my passion. Like everything I do is business. So my hobby is reading books about these various business ventures, but I'm not going to go bananas and go into it until, you know, the one I'm currently working on is up and running and somewhat automated, if that makes sense. So for me, eBay is second nature. It takes no time. Amazon FBA is second nature, and it doesn't take that much time. So once you get to the point where it's automated or you have help and you have those systems in place and your bills are paid, then you start to say, all right, I've been learning about this ClickFunnels thing. Let's go down that path. You gotta, and I'm the worst at this. You gotta slow down and take it one step at a time.
So speaking of slowing down, I'm bad about that too.
Oh, I can't even slow down when I'm talking. I have to keep telling you, wait a second, what are we talking about?
So speaking of slowing down, I feel like there's a huge, this huge pain point for young entrepreneurs like myself, you know,
yeah,
like yourself, like tons of people. And I feel like the pain point is they're doing all these things and they're hustling, they're working 12, 15 hours a day. They're learning about this. They're trying to do everything right. And things are just not happening as fast as they want them to.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep that fire and keep pushing and keep grinding, but almost be okay with knowing that it's going to take a long time? Like how do you balance and maybe manage your own expectations there?
I mean, I think a lot of it is having a good support system. So for me, it was difficult at first to be an online entrepreneur because 99.9% of the people in this area, including my whole family, they're just not about it like I am. And so finding that support of like, oh my gosh, why have you been on the computer for like 16 hours straight? Like, what are you doing on there? I had to start like making lists of things so that they could see like I'm doing something here. But now that they know what I'm doing, I like to have two support systems. I like to have my squad, my geek out crew, I have business partners that are like my best friends. And I have, and basically these are people from Facebook and Instagram we've all just clicked and we're in business ventures together. So I like that they can kind of reel me in and say, yeah, you're working 16 hours, but what are you getting done? Okay. And then take a look at, am I spending time on things that I shouldn't be, that I'm not outsourcing because I should be, because I'm guilty of that. But then I have the other support system because my business friends are kind of crazy like me. And so they can reel me into a certain degree, but then I have my family that doesn't get it, but they see me as a human being that is exhausted, and they can kind of give me a different vantage point of, you need to like slow down, or they give me a lot of great, bring me back down to earth and like kind of like ground me a little bit and like let me chill and kind of just recover. And then I can get back into my like crazy work mode. I don't know. That's how I function, I guess. So people need to keep me in check and just kind of, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to 100% not be just driven to work all day. I just love it. And I just need people to kind of be like, slow down, take a break. And then I get right back in.
So when you're finding those people, and I'm talking about more like the geek squad, you know, the entrepreneurs that you can, you know, they know about what CPC means, and you know what SEO means, like they know all the jargon and they're in it, and they get it. How do you find those people And especially, I think it's interesting that, you say you have a bunch of different partners with different ventures.
Yeah.
How do you find those people, and how do you make sure those are the people that you really want to be taking advice from and surrounding yourself with?
It is the most bizarre story too whenever I tell it. So I have in the two information brokering companies, it's actually one large company that I co-own with two people, and Jeremy Wilson and Bob Steele, and they're both Amazon sellers, and we had never met face to face, and we signed partnership agreements and had a joint bank account and had a business popping together. I mean, it's crazy. So how did I know that, and how did that start out? Would be a mastermind group. This could be a local mastermind group. It could be online. Our preferred method was Facebook because we've been on it forever, and we just follow our community on there, and definitely get involved in some sort of a community. And to be honest, it's not something that came naturally to me, because even though I talk a lot right now and I seem outgoing, I have a very introverted side where I like to not socialize. I like to just be home and in my own element. But, at least on Facebook, get out first. That's a good start. Get out there on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, or local meetups, and get to know people. And it's funny, you'll find people that I call myself strange in certain ways. You'll find people that have those same eccentric oddities about them that are, you'll have these commonalities that connect you, I guess is how to put it. And then on top of that, you're in the same industry. And even further than that, so obviously I've met my business partners and I have other business ventures that I'm working on with other people. So how the heck did that happen? Well, then you also have networking events that come up, conferences, and take that opportunity to go. And that was the last thing, by the way, I wanted to hear after being a teacher. After all of the professional development courses and all that, I was like, I am not going to a conference. I'm not networking. No. Oh my gosh. I went, and it was amazing. It's so different when it's in an area that you love. You just can't get enough of it. So one of the big things we do now is we take a look at all of the different industry conferences and things coming up, our little squad, and the squad gets bigger, and we get an Airbnb. Like the last one, we were just in Las Vegas a month ago. We went to the ASD trade show, and we got a huge Airbnb, and we invited everybody over from the Amazon community that knew us, and we had a big party there, and everything. We got to network, and so that's very valuable right there. And then we all stayed in this huge Airbnb together, and you just geek out all week. So sometimes you don't even know the people. Everyone, you get your own room, your own bathroom, and you eat family dinners together, and we all sit around the table with our laptops out working on projects and just tossing ideas back and forth. We're there for a full week, and then we come home, and it's game on. And we have our mastermind group now that our whole little squad checks in on, working on joint projects together, working on single projects, and holding each other accountable. And again, like I mentioned, we'll plan our next outing, which should be coming up soon here. And we tend to get another member here and there, and the crew gets bigger, and it's just amazing. Next thing you know, you have close friends, you have close business associates, you have people that are strong in areas that you are not, that you can ask for help. It's amazing. It really is. So taking the time to do that.
Yeah, that definitely seems like an asset once you create it.
Yeah.
It's just powerful.
Definitely, I would definitely start either with a local meetup or Facebook. And you start to get a feel for people, even, it sounds weird, but even on Facebook, where you'll kind of click, you'll be commenting in the same community, and you seem to have the same opinion, and then you end up being friends, and then we're like, hey, let's have a little, our own little private Facebook group, and we could just shoot ideas back and forth with one another. And then sometimes it's you kind of find somebody else that you're want to be our friend. Then they come in the group. That's just kind of, and I've been in several of those groups. So it sounds odd and it sounds weird to have to put yourself out there like that, but it's actually very, very, very common in the business world.
Absolutely. And again, I would highly encourage everybody that's listening, if you take nothing else from this, which there's a lot you could take from it, and I highly encourage you to, go back and listen to all the things that Brianna's saying, because she's been dropping some serious value bombs. But go get a mastermind group. Go find one to join or start your own. I've been in a few myself, and I could say it is so incredibly helpful. It is amazing. It's an amazing experience, and the people that you meet there will not only help you stay accountable, but like it's almost like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like a little competition. Like who's gonna get there faster?
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah, it's nice, and it's a friendly competition, and because you tend to find people that are similar to you, it's a healthy thing that keeps you going. Yeah, it's important.
Absolutely. So, we talked a lot about your past and about how you've gotten to where you are now. But what are you working on right now? What is your biggest focus right now?
So I spent a lot of time over the last year because Amazon and eBay pretty much ran themselves, and my information brokering companies with my partners pretty much run themselves. I spent a lot of time just kind of developing additional income streams. I went crazy on print on demand. I have a big Merch by Amazon account, and I have t-shirts you name it, and I probably have a t-shirt on the marketplace. So I had that time to play. So I just got into everything. And some of the things were like a horrible waste of time, and some of them weren't, but it was a fun year of experimenting. And so when I set my goals for this year, I kind of narrowed back down and said, okay, now it's time to make the money. I coasted, not that I coasted. Obviously it was a great, successful last couple of years, but I know that I'm capable of even more. And so I think right now my really, really big projects are still Amazon. I've been into retail arbitrage and online arbitrage up until now, and one of the information companies I own is an online arbitrage company. But after spending time in Las Vegas, this is the perfect story, I met several different people that are where I want to be with my Amazon business. And from that, I literally came back and did a 180. And now I spent the day working on my private label. It's already here, the product, working on my private label line. And I expect that to be absolutely huge. And a couple of wholesale accounts. And probably continue to dabble in some of these things. But I feel like for me right now, I want to spend some more time with my family, I think. And I say relax. We'll see if that happens. But really, really hone in more on Amazon FBA and growing that right now, and the private label wholesale stuff. And keeping what I have going, ticking still.
So as you're moving forward and you're setting these goals, I'm sure that there's some, big final destination that you want to get to, like your big 20, 30-year goals. Mm-hmm. Could you share those goals with us? And what are you in it for? Like, what are you really trying to accomplish here at the end of the day?
Honestly, I would love within the next 10 years to have the opportunity to retire in my 40s if I want. I don't think I will, but I think I could possibly scale back quite a bit and kind of hand over the reins, so to speak. Maybe even sell some of the businesses at that point. I don't know. But I guess the long-term goal is just to be comfortable. And I know for me, I'm always going to say I can make another 100,000. I can make another million. I can make another. I don't know if it's ever going to end for me, but yeah, just to be comfortable and to also have an empire. I only have one child, and so to have an empire, and hopefully maybe she'll have some interest in it, in kind of taking it over and running things and growing it. And if not, we'll sell it. But just enjoy the journey too. I just love it, I feel like this is my passion, and also my passion is helping people. And now I've been able to take my entrepreneurial side and my love for teaching and kind of plop them together. So I'm where I'm supposed to be. I know that.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, I really appreciate your time on the interview today. And it's really been a pleasure chatting with you and hearing from you. But I actually have one more question for you.
Sure.
Is there anything about yourself that you think is an important part of who you are that I did not ask you about today? In other words, what did I miss?
Let me think. I don't know. I'm trying to think here. That's a pretty good overview of everything, I think. I mean, and for any of the listeners or viewers, I mean, if you ever have any questions at all about any of these different income streams and all that, I mean, I call myself crazy pants. I'm all over the place, and I have all sorts of different things that I can share with you guys. And I'm an open book. I guess maybe the one thing that I would share is that if you ever see me anywhere, like, I'm the most honest, genuine, like, straight up person. Like, please don't ever be intimidated if anyone, you know, wants to chat, message me. Like, I'm very accessible, and I pride myself on that. And I don't, you know, no matter where I go in life, I hope to be able to keep that part of me. And I'm always, you know, willing to help people. I know I can drive myself into the ground, like answering personal messages, but I feel like it's super important. There's too many people out there in our industry that, like, toss people aside too quickly. And I was that person, you know? So I don't know, I guess just letting people know that I'm, you know, if you have any interest whatsoever in anything that I do, I'm an open book, and I don't need to hide anything either as far as my little secrets and all that. I mean, you know, I'm happy to pass that stuff on and pay it forward. So
that's incredible. So, Brianna, you know, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the interview today. It really does mean a lot. Yeah. For people who want to, you know, take the next step with you and you know, maybe get a little bit more information and you know, maybe connect with you on a little bit deeper level, where would be the best place to do it, and in what capacity?
Okay, so you can definitely find me on Facebook. I think I'm maxed out on friends. Just hit follow and send me a personal message, and it should come through. And then I have my personal website with my name, BriannaMoellerGreene.com, and you would find all of my email information on there. And then one of the biggest things is I've run a coaching program in the past, and I kind of set it aside for a little while and revamped it. And so I reopened it. It's just always in my heart. It's like, I need it. I need to work with people. And so I did reopen a group. It's called E-commerce Hacks. And what it is basically like, you remember well, I guess they still make them, you know, knitting for dummies, or you know, like a little condensed guide of the bare nuts and bolts. Like, what do I got to know? That's kind of how I operate. And I think what my strength is from teaching, and especially with the middle schoolers, is like, I can take a concept like this and I can help you understand it by bringing it down to like an understandable level. So in this mastermind group, that's what I do. I drop these little, we were talking about this before, knowledge bombs, like these little hacks, these little tricks that people don't tell you about because, ooh, you know, let's hide it from everybody and make it a big secret. So it's you will get way more than the subscription fee. It's just $25 a month. I probably provided $250 worth of value in one day yesterday, if not more. But it's the great thing is you have direct access to me, and you can message me, tag me, whatever. There's a program too where I'll give you my cell phone number. You can text me. I've had clients in the past where we're like good friends now. And so I brought them up to speed in a certain area, and they had a strength elsewhere, and now we do joint ventures together. So definitely check me out on my website. And if you need any help at all, private message me. If you're interested in that coaching group, you can subscribe on my website, but you can ask me additional questions too if you're hesitant or want to know any more information.
Okay, and for that group, for the I believe you said the Ecom Hacks group.
Yeah.
What's the URL to subscribe to that and for people to join that group immediately?
Let me see if I can grab it here. You can get the link right on the website, but I'll give you the direct link. Let's see. Go. So it's actually done through Gumroad. Would it be easier if I message it to you, or you want to just read it?
Yeah, read it out now, please,
Okay.
and then I'll also put it in the show notes so everybody can make sure to get to it.
Okay.
Very accessible, and you know, they can connect with you off the interview.
Okay, so of course Gumroad has to, you know, put some random letters in here. So it's just gumroad.com. And if you have trouble, you can actually just put / Brianna Muller Greene, and you'll find me. But the direct link is / lowercase l / lowercase cd, capital K, and then 2 lowercase a's. So gumroad.com / l / cd, capital K, AA. The rest of the letters were lowercase.
Okay, great. So I highly encourage everybody who's listening to go and check out all Brianna's stuff, and make sure that you, you know, listen to this interview a couple times and really listen to all the value bombs that, you know, she's been dropping. It's been some seriously cool stuff. You know, it really does help to have somebody who knows what they're doing, who's been through it, and who is actively still doing it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people who preach they can do this and they can do that, but when you ask them, what are you doing now, they're just doing the coaching side. So
Yes.
to have somebody who is in the trenches, still doing it, actively growing their business, that is an invaluable resource that for $25 a month, that's huge. That's huge. So I highly, highly encourage you to go check out that group. Again, the links are going to be in the show notes below. So yeah, Brianna, I just want to thank you so much for jumping on the interview today. I really appreciate your time. Do you want to maybe take the last 30 seconds to close up?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for reaching out. So that's a new, Ben reached me through Instagram. That's one of my new little experiments. I'm like 10 years too old, I think, to know Instagram, but I'm trying. So, yeah, I just want to say, please know that you can do it. You can have a little side hustle. You can pay off the credit card debt. My big thing that I paid off was $100,000 in credit cards in 1 year with all this stuff I have going on. So please reach out if you need help with anything at all. I'm your girl, and I hope you get something set up.
All right, everybody. Well, you have a fantastic day. This has been another Project Egg interview. Today, we've been talking to Brianna Muller Greene. Have a great day.
Take care.